name is Nuala, and I am going to tell you a story of the Lady of the Lake. This lake, Lough Erne in Fermanagh. A long, long, long time ago, there was a wealthy merchant, and he lived with his wife on the banks of Lough Erne. They had but one child, a daughter, who they cherished above all else. Now this daughter was gifted, apparently, with a second sight. And everyone knew about it, so people came from miles around to hear whatever she would tell them, or whatever she would tell them would come to pass. Now on her 19th birthday, she said that she would die at the hands of a jealous man. And of course, everybody thought that this was the one that wouldn't come through, and indeed hoped that it wouldn't come through. Coming up to her 21st birthday, she was coming home one night from a friend's house, walking the road. And she come across a boy who had asked her to marry him before, but she had rebuked him. He had asked her a second time, and again she had rebuked him. And this night he asked her for a third and final time, and again she rebuked him. And if she did, he did not take it well, and he beat her within an inch of her life, to where she was taken then to the cottage hospital, and on her dying bed said, "Bury me on Devenish Island, but be careful making the crossing." And as was the custom back then, it was the women who were the chief mourners. So they dressed in black and they mourned for 3 days solid and 3 nights solid. And it was a massive wake, for she was a very popular girl and a very gentle soul. On the 3rd day, the women carried her coffin down here to the shore, and they put the coffin into the boat, and they climbed into the boat with her to bring her across to Devenish Island, as was her request. But when they went halfway across the island, a huge storm started to come in, and the boat started to pitch both sides, and one of the mourners stood up and started to squeal and lost hold of the coffin, and the coffin went in under the waters, and if it did, the mourners went in under it, and the boat and everything was lost to the loch. And that should have been the end of her story. However, more recently, less than 10 years ago, we had some fishermen down. We have fishing competitions in Fermanagh. It's a great place for fish. They came down to fish. And they'd heard about the story of the Lady of the Lake, and of course one of them, the biggest, said, "Not at all, there's no such things as ghosts. It's country bumpkin talk. That's all it is." Overnight, he'd camp, and he would prove to the rest of the boys that there was no such thing as ghosts. And they bet his fishing licence for the next year. Well, he thought he was on to a winner. What harm could be done sitting out by the loch overnight? And he did. He camped all night. And his friends went back to the hotel up there in Irvinstown. The following morning they came down to get him, and his tent was in pieces. No sign of the man at all. The campfire was out. And they opened the tent, and there was this big burly man sitting, ashen face, no colour in him at all, shaking from head to foot. He couldn't even speak. All they could get out of him was bleh, bleh, bleh. They took the tent and the camp down. Could not get this man settled at all. They packed up, and about an hour and a half later the poor man came round to himself. He said, "What is wrong with you, John?" "She's real. She's absolutely real." "You want your fishing licence. There's no more ghosts out there, look at, than there's a pike in your net." "She's real. Midnight last night," he said, "I heard something outside the tent. I went out to look, and I seen what looked like women dressed from head to foot in black. And there was a boat down there on the shore. And they carried a coffin down to the boat, and they put the coffin in the boat, and then they got into the boat beside her, and they rowed that boat, but they only made it halfway across the loch. And then a huge big storm came up over that side of the island, and the boat started to pitch and keen and toss, and the women started to keen and wheel, and one woman stood up and there was a flash of lightning and everything disappeared. The boat, the mourners, everything was gone under the water. I'm telling you, she is real. Now that man never did get the price of his fishing licence again, and indeed I don't think he came back here to fish. Nobody's that brave anymore. Nobody will come down here at night. You will see the swimmers down here in the morning, but nobody's brave enough to come down here at night and camp out. Now, she still flits across the islands, and indeed a relative of mine is buried over there. She flits on him as well, and she'll flit across Devenish as hard as she's fit. There's no harm in her, for she was a gentle soul, and it is good luck to see her. And that is the story of the Lady of the Lake.